Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Alexander G. You'll see that, hey, hello with the thumbnail. So, guys, if you don't know the thumbnail, it talks about double tops and double bottoms, of course. So, other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining. If you're watching this as a replay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you stopping by. Also, a quick reminder, click that like button because it really helps with the algorithm to spread this knowledge. So at this point, it's only Alexander G, very first one in the in the house. Holy balls, she says. Holy balls, welcome, welcome. The queen mode in the house. So let's get started. Today we're gonna be talking about morphology of the pattern again, right? Every single time that we're gonna be talking about a pattern. Now that we are on advanced trading sections, all right, we're gonna be talking about the morphology. Why? Because morphology of the pattern is something that we need to take into consideration every single time that we see something forming, right? So a double top or a double bottom can easily transform into a triple top or triple bottom, or maybe into a wedge, so on and so forth, such as we have seen and talked about yesterday, chapter 10, night in 8. All right, guys, so let's get started, and we're gonna be taking a look at where we left out yesterday. We're gonna be looking at what is our possible setups for this day or for this night, and then we're gonna be talking about double tops and bottoms. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. All right, we got it right here. This is yesterday's recording. Remember, chapter 10, ranges, advanced trading, and we were talking about up-ranging scenarios, right? Hey, as Bitcoin, what's up? Hello there. Thank you so much for stopping by, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Take a seat and start throwing some paper balls. Really appreciate them. Let's see if I can catch them. And also, if you have any questions, please let me know on the side chat. I'll be more than happy to go over them and maybe answer them the best of my abilities. All right, yesterday this was it. It was TAO talking about a possibility of a possible long in here, and I told you guys, well, we are at the top, we have a possible reversal, we could be losing it. I'd rather wait for a further move to the downside, although if you really wanted to, you could be going over here. Let's see if we have audio or not. Here it is. I'd rather get stopped out here. And then re-enter somewhere around here. All right, so let's take a look at what happened there, and let's see how did that play it out. So we have New Earth Guardian. What's up? What's going on? Welcome, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for stopping by. Quick reminder, just click that like button if you would. I will always appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you have any questions, please let me know. Your auto trade can't deny. What? I love big double bottoms, and I cannot lie. Love it, bro. Love it. I also do, like my friend, double tops and double bottoms, right? I mean, what a beautiful patterns there. All right, so this is what we were talking about, a possible early entry here with a half of an entry. I told you guys I'd rather wait and enter here, or I'd rather just enter with early setup in here, get stopped out with half of a position, and then re-enter somewhere around here. So what we did, let's go back to TAO and see what happened. All right, so this is it. What happened in here? Well, then we were looking for that flip of the ribbon. Did we have the flip of the ribbon? Yeah. Do we have the breakout retest? No. We have a fallback down to dynamic reactor, and then we lost it, right? We lost it, but still bounced to it. So that would have been an amazing. Remember, I always tell you guys, we need to keep looking at our structure here, right? That would have been an amazing setup for a short, and off we go. The reality is that I was just basically out In here, I was looking for a possible entry. My long entry that I was looking for in this area was already below the zero line, right? So for me, that is a non-entry at that point. And well, once I start looking for, look at that, it's not about the breakout, you retest, and I was all right. Well, maybe I can just get a maybe an entry in here if we, for some reason, can make it up. And then guess what? This was kind of like a lucky shot. All right, I was looking at, you know what? I already have taken once. I already has taken twice. Am I gonna have the third one as a charm? Well, then I don't know. I'm just gonna risk it, and I'm gonna set it up for the best case scenario. If that is not happening, that is not happening. I set up my alert. Look at that. I was looking actually on this candle, and I was very close, and I let it go. And then I went out with MJ. What happened? It actually ringed on me. It ringed on me, jumped in, and guess what? Going back down here, TP number 1 right there. All right, it's still bouncing here, and then today we closed it, or close it basically right here, right after the show. All right, before the show. All right, what was happening here? Oh, and actually it moved on me. I did not take this long. I was waiting because I thought we could get in here live, right? But you can see my intention in here, right? Why? Because we got already flip of the ribbon somewhere around here, going back downwards, took my profits, already going for a double bottom on the oscillator. All right, bullish divergence, and I was looking to enter right there at the candle close. It left me out. I am not into that trade, just so you know. You can see the intention that we were looking for a possible entry. Look at we got in the class. Jesse Gluke username. What's up, guys? Welcome. Really glad to see you guys in here. Guys, prepare your paper walls and take a better seat for the paper wall war. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. A quick reminder to click that like button. Really helps with the algorithm. Thank you guys for joining. And by the way, remember, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. I'll be answering any and all of your questions. All right. We came from BD's Discord. Nice, my friend. Thank you, BC Corp for the redirect. Really appreciate it, my friends. By the way, guys, we have some news. I'm gonna just finish this up, and we're gonna be announcing those news. You may already know this, but on the Piper Academy, we have dropped the prices. So drop it like it's hot, and everything, all access for $4.99. No more paywalls while everybody else is rising their prices. Piper said, well, why not? Heck not. Why are we doing the same? Let's just go for, like helping the algorithm, helping the people. Let's go for what the algorithm wants, right? So what is that? Well, we believe on free education for the algorithm, right? Still, we drop those prices. Very nice. So guys, if you are, remember not to renew your existing plan. If you're considering, you can do just the emoji, or you can go for full access at $4.99 a month. I think that's a cool one. All right, so at this point, man, we would have been celebrating, but other than that, what we can do, nothing. We are below the zero line. We are below the dynamic reactor here, below the zero line in here, right? So what could we be expecting? Well, then let's zoom out. All right, let's zoom out. Let me see if I can clear this up without breaking everything. All right, good enough. All right, good enough. And what I can see here, it is a trend line. All right, look at that, almost perfect trend line. Let's go and push it just slightly. There we go, inwards right here to accommodate for this highs, this one, and this one. So we're going to resistance at this point. Let's see if we can break it. Most likely we're going to, because we can still have, we're not on rejection zone so far. I believe that we can break it. Going to dynamic reactor, bounce off dynamic reactor, and off we go. Remember, dynamic reactor is not the only thing that is out there. We need to look for what else is in there. So let's take a look at, remember, if you don't have your dynamic reactor, you can do your SMA combo. At this point, it's slightly above. Usually when we coincide, look at that, when we're very close to each other, the SMA combo and dynamic reactor, that's when we have a big rejection. So what is it telling us? That we have some air. that we have a gap in where we could be maybe bouncing, creating some noise, or just looking for some ranging zones in there, right? So let's see if I can find that example. There it is. Look at that. When we have a gap between those two, we kind of like to range. Why is that? Not sure, but that is something that I've noticed when I use this strategy, or when I use them in conjunction. Look at that. Once we're getting that air and the price action is coming in, we have that ranging taking place near that area. Look at that once again. SMA combo, dynamic reactor, and we range very close to that area, right? So it repeats over and over and over. So I can be assuming at this point that we can maybe have some ranging in here. If we're gonna be having some ranging here, guys, let's talk about morphology. All right. So what could we be maybe having here if we have a range? Well, we already have this movement. We already have this movement, and maybe if we have a range, what if this keeps going down maybe and do something like that? Could it happen that this range, it's a little bit like a U form again, maybe like that? Could maybe we be creating a inverse head and shoulders? I don't know. It's not there yet, but remember, that's what knowing about morphology helps, right? Because you can forecast what could be the next upcoming pattern, and it doesn't matter if you're wrong on your prediction. The important part is that you give it a try, that you start looking for what's up ahead and plan for it. Why? Because in many cases, many cases, the same breakouts tend to play out very nicely. For example, let me imagine, all right, that we're gonna be having something like this, all right, like an inverted head and shoulders, or maybe we have a triangle, whatever you want to call this, all right, whatever you want to call this. And as you can see, the necklines and the breakout parameters are very close to each other. So what if I'm just looking at my SMA combo or my dynamic reactor? Well, most likely my breakout point is going to be the same as a triangle. It's going to be the same as the inverted head and shoulders. And there's only one different thing, which is going to be right here where we could be breaking through and then going lower. All right. So now that I have the setup for the future, again, it's not that I know. It is just that I'm using the morphology concept to forecast possible reactions, possible new patterns that could be appearing right here, right? If that is the case, well then I'm gonna be looking for where's gonna be my entry point and my exit point, exactly like we called out yesterday. And today, just for 2 candles, we missed that entry, but still fine, right? Remember, no chasing after prices. And look at that, we're having a little bit of a rejection here, even though I had mentioned that I didn't thought that we're gonna be having it. Well, it seems like we are. All right, so let's go back and take a look at what else. Well, if we have a trend line in here, remember, look back, look for go back to basics, right? Rinse and repeat, like yesterday, rinse and repeat. Sorry, like chapter number 9.4, rinse and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat. So it's not about the breakout, it's about your retest, and off you go, maybe creating a higher low, and in the process, once again, what's that? An inverted head and shoulders. All right, we could also be having a sweep of the lows, again, somewhere in between the same ranging zone. And remember, our entry point is going to be at the breakout of that zero line right there, right where the X marks the spot. All right, so there it is. All right, perfect. So that's what we got so far in TAO. Let's take a look at also yesterday's episode, right? Chapter number 10. This is the replay where we were talking about a formation of Sui or Sui, right? For me, it's going to be Sui, regardless, right? I see I'm missing out a little bit of the chat. I see a lot of fruits, if I can call them there. Let me see. Smash that like. Absolutely. New Earth Gordon, thank you so much for that. Asia is starting to sell off. Oh la la. Maybe we can take a look at our sections here. Username says AG. Who else? OC, my clubbing brother. Absolutely, my friend. We need to make that a reality, man. All right, hi Jesse. Who else we got in here? Jesse Blue, of course, the master. Alexander G, JR. What's up, JR? Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Take a seat and, of course, make as much noise as you can. Here we welcome the party. I did on Facebook and I share. That's like, oh, nice. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate that share. Beauty Support Corp says, Peach, air. If you know, you know. Well, you're reading it up there, right? So, like, there it is. Air. Perfect. Who else we got in here? I think that's about it. I felt like a hard-hitting journalist. I know. All right, let's get going here. This is where we left out yesterday. Also, Sui or Sui, regardless, for me, Sui. Right? I think phonetics are a little bit better. We were talking about a possible double top being formed in here. What would that define a double top, right? Well, it's time for me to explain. Let's go to Sui. Let's see what happened. And finally, let me explain double tops, double bottoms, and the difference between triple tops and triple bottoms, or morphology on ranges. All right, so let's go here. Perfect. Remember that at this point we're talking about a very close, there we go, area for a double top or a double bottom. We can still create those double tops and bottoms. Let me just get rid of most of the noise in here, all right, because we also went to the 15 minutes, and don't worry, we're gonna go once again to the 15 minutes to see what's going on in here. So far, we need to break this area, right? What makes a double top in this point, it is a range, right, with two touches at the top, one touch or one average touch or movement at the bottom. All right, in this case, look at that, we have 1 and 2, but the average movement was to the upside, so we can identify, despite this scam week, right, we can identify a whole movement downwards, a whole movement upwards, and a secondary movement downwards. All right, so in this case we need to fail, maybe roll back down, maybe create a fake out in here, or a dead cat bounce. We're gonna be talking about dead cat bounces, but usually it is when a trend gets cuts out, and this is your dead cat bounce. All right, so basically it did not make it all the way up, right, to create a double top or a continuation. And then we need to fall below this area. Why do we need to fall below that area? Because that is our neckline. How do we define that neckline? Usually looking for where that first movement ended up. I mean, we can argue, and this is what today's advanced trading, we can argue that our actual bottom, it is all the way here, because this is the actual point of the lowest point, right? I will argue that. And why is that? Remember when we talked about it first, support and resistances and trend lines, right? Remember the concept that I told you that I like to create my support and resistances based on a wedged position, right? So basically looking for the top, looking for the bottom, and then aiming to wedge my trend line in between those, like something like, oh come on, like something, let me see if I can draw it like this, right? If I drop it, this is gonna act as a pivot, and then this also gonna act as a pivot, right? So basically this is how a I don't know, stiff stick will react being wedged between this candle and this candle, right? So then what I do if I'm looking to get a flat surface, right? A support or resistance. Usually a support and a resistance usually are flat, are horizontals, right? Because when we start creaking down our support and resistance, we can call them, or they get a name called trend lines, right? So what do I do? Well, then I get the average up and the average down necessary, right, to straighten that line, right? So I'm going to cut between them both equally, or as equal as my brain can, All right, and again, you don't need to be perfect. There we go. As you can see, for me, it was slightly below. Maybe I can even push it a little bit more, something like that. And that will be actually, there we go. I think that was a much better calculation. There we go. Why and how? Because let me zoom in here. We have approximately the same overhang here and the same overhang here. All right. So based on that, I can set up my bottom of the possible range. Why are we talking a range since this looks like a double top? Because we don't know if it's a double top. The only way to know that this is a double top, as with any other pattern, it is when it's breaking its neckline. At this point, the neckline, it is the channel's lower section. All right. Another thing that tells me that this is a great trend line, or sorry, a neckline, which is also a support from the possible range, right? Because we also need not to discard the possibility that this could be a range or whatever else, right? Look at that. It's also having a confirmation candle, scam wick going to that area, right? And then bouncing strongly. By the way, guys, today with BC Port Corp on the Piper Academy, he talked about this kind of candlestick patterns, right? If you want to visit 101 trading, go ahead, check out his live sessions on the Piper Academy. They are part of the $4.99 membership, so $4.99. So rock on, buddy. BC Port Corp username. There's just too many candle names. Oh yeah, there is just too many. Like, for example, this is Steve. This one here, it's Bob. This one here's Louis. This one here, it is Jackson, right? So, I mean, you give them a name, everyone. That joke. All right. I'm practicing, man. I'm just practicing. So, all right. So, what else about this area? Why am I arguing this part also? Remember that I mentioned you that I could be arguing that this could be the actual low. Because remember when we're doing a range, right? And let me go back to TAO. What do we do on ranges, right? We create a buffering zone in here, right? You see that? We have a buffering zone. So, I mean, if we have a double top is defined like a range start, right? So if this is a range start, why are we not cloning and creating our buffering zone? I can even look at that, maybe go for a lower first area here. There we go, compensate this week, right? This first week, these two candles, then maybe go a little bit lower here, right? From a buffering zone, right? Or if you rather, we can go like this. Look at that, much better, right? So let's do the same thing here. Let's clone it. Oh, and I learned a neat trick today from Alexa Crypto. So Alexa Crypto, shout out to you, my friend. He mentioned, hey, do you know if you control and then drag, you create a line? Oh, look at that. Man, that was amazing. I always right-click cloned it. So let's just control and drag it with your mouse, all right? So at this point, this is going to be right here. This is going to be my buffering zone. Perfect. I have my buffering zone here. Something that I don't know if I mentioned this throughout the channel's setup, it is that your buffering zones at the top and at the bottom, they don't need to be equal, right? It is not the same, the buying pressure than the selling pressure. So don't worry about equilibrium there. There is none, or it doesn't really matter as long as you're catching your buffering zone based on your candlesticks at the bottom and buffering zone based on your candlesticks at the top, right? Rest of it, let it be whatever the market needs to be, right? All right, now that we have our buffering zone, well then we can start looking for areas of entry, because we don't know exactly if this is going to become a double top, which seems like it, especially because, and remember, because we're losing right now our oscillator. Man, this is going to be a very nice trade. So I'm telling you guys, for some reason, the markets are just very spot on the chapters for our trading sessions. I mean, couldn't be more happy with that. But look at that, we're losing our 0.9. Does that mean that we're going to drop? I mean, what happened here? Did we lost it? Yes, we lost it. But look at that, at the same time, we came back once again. The only difference, and I want you guys to notice this, all right, is the thickness of those clouds, all right? The thickness of those clouds, right? The green and red clouds, at this point, they were very thick. Look at the difference when we have a thickness, a very thin thickness, especially at the top, all right? When we break out, look at the dramatic effect from having so much pressure. Look at that, for example. Look at how thin those clouds are. Not the ribbon. The clouds are behind the ribbon, right? The green and red setup here. Look at how much compression we got there, right? Of course, we don't have the same compression right now, but we are pretty compact, and we are not at the top, all right? This means, the compression means that we're gonna blast through, right? The more compacted we are in the clouds, the more violent the result is going to be. This is not telling you up or down. It's just telling you we have too much pressure. Something is going to give up, right? So what is the weakest link? Is it the bottom link or is it the top link? Which one is the weakest? So there's several things that we can do to understand that, right? Remember yesterday's, what was it? Chapter number 9, if I'm not mistaken, 9 and 10, where we learn how to predict breakouts, right, based on ranges or any other pattern, which was from the start, right? This is the start of the double bottom, maybe a little bit to my left. There we go, like that. We're going to be measuring the time that we have spent above and the time that we have spent below. So far, and this is something that happens with double tops and double bottoms, it is too small of a ranging action here that is not, we're not able to read it sometimes on the same time frame. What we need to do is get more information. How do we get more information with the same amount of candles? Going lower, all right? So we could be maybe going to the 1 hour. There we go. And this looks like way better, right? I mean, look at the straight lines with the inner sections. It's not about the breakout, it's about a retest. This looks like an architect draw it, all right? Hey, we have Tuned Up in the house. Welcome, week 5. Welcome. Thanks so much for stopping by. Remember to make as much noise as you can. Also, a little bit of, there we go. A little bit of reminder. Click that like button, if you will. Thank you. All right, so what we got in here, we have a breakout, all right? And we have a breakout, retest, and then off we go. Did not play it out. Well, it did when you're all the way down here with its scam wick. So, what is this? Right? What is that? Let me see if I can give you a little bit of a hint in here. And for that, I need to go to my Discord, all right? Give me just 1 second. So the hint from there, it is, oh man, it's not in here. Where is it? It needs to be here. Oh, come on, is that being, yeah, this is it. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Who's that guy? All right, so this is chunky candles, right? But it's just a hint. Remember, this is not chunky candles itself. This is this could be becoming a flat pause of bearish, in this case, bearish continuation, right? I like to call it a fat pause of continuation, right? So basically what this means that we are just ranging over time, and when we're supposed to be going up, we're just wasting time, right? And then whatever it does, either if we have dynamic growth coming in strong, we could be breaking through with a big support, and then the sweep of the lows could define the end of the flat pause of bearish continuation. Or if we go straight through, it's not about the breakout, it's about your retest, previous supports becomes new resistance, and off we go. All right, so there we go. this is what we got here. But that's not what we're here for, right? What we're here for, it is trying to predict the breakout on this channel based on its volume, right? Not on its volume, on its momentum, accumulated momentum, right? So far we have, let's use my rectangular thing, because I think I'm much better with it, right? From here to here, right? What else? From here to here. Remember, I'm not counting how high, I'm just counting how low. So from left to right, all right? This one here. Maybe is the next one canceling each other? Maybe, but let's just count and see. There's not that much. All right, let's just count it. And that's it, because this one's there absolutely canceling each other. All right, so what we got in here, here it is. Here it is. Ooh. Come on. Look at that. We are equally. I mean, man, this is scary. So what is it telling me? Oh, non-breakout. I think from all of the chapters that we have learned about this strategy, this is the first time that we have an unknown breakout, right? So it's to be expected. Remember, ranges for me, based on my trading strategy, they are unknown breakouts, right? But still, we are above dynamic reactor, and we have a very nice prime score. So what are we going to be assuming? Let's measure out when we have our most comfort. Sorry for that, guys. Seems like lost guy was there, so I thought it was something important. Sorry about that. So what we got in here, it is basically looking for our next support and resistances, right? Let's see, where is it stronger? Look at that. We have our entry point, a bearish order block. Even if it's bearish, all right? Even if it's bearish, why is it bearish? Because it has a highly or a greater bearish scenario than a bullish scenario here. Still, the bullishness out of this order block is pushing, right? So at this point, what are we looking for? Just getting rid or finalizing, taking down that bullish sentiment, or that bullish positions right here, right? So are we gonna bounce big enough that we can go up, or are we gonna be running out of bullish positions, and we're gonna be going for those bearish positions, basically breaking through? So this is a matter of time. We need to keep an eye on the order blocks, guys. Order blocks are support and resistances. The specialty of those order blocks, they're very dramatic when they're played out, right? But they also shift of position. Why? If I open up an order, I'm creating, or I'm adding my position to the order book, right? These positions create order blocks, right? If for some reason, and by the way, just so you know, so we're clear about this, where my open position is not taken position. So if I put up a USD to get SUI, right? I don't yet have my SUI. I have just put up there my USDT to get SUI, right? That's an open order, which creates order blocks, all right? So this is liquidity to be taken, right? But what if for some reason I just decide, just because I decide to cancel that order, right? Well then, the volume is gonna switch, the volume is gonna change. And if I had a buy position and I close it, I'm gonna reduce in that percentage. Or if I have a sell order, right, well then it's gonna be reducing on that position. Why would somebody sell at this point? Because maybe they're looking at something like this. Let me show it to you. Maybe they're looking at this high, higher high, sorry, lower high, lower high, something like that, right? I'm telling you, the morphology of a pattern, right? Everybody's looking at something slightly different. What if they want to, hey, look at that, maybe I'm shorting here because I'm falling below my cricket support, my trend line, and then I don't care if it goes like that, but I could be looking at this double top and the fail of that neckline, right? They're trying to short the breakout of that both neckline or rising support, right? So as you can see, there could be many things why somebody would be opening up a short in there. So the only thing that we're gonna be doing here is gonna be waiting for that reaction. So far, this is looking slightly more bullish because the order block, it is acting upon the constantly increasing dynamic reactor. Let's see if we have something else in there. Well, we have an area of ranging, and are we ranging? Yeah, we are barely in that area, but there we go. I mean, we can maybe range for a little bit more. And look at where's our smart entry point would be here. Enough for breakout retest, and maybe off we go, right? So what is it? Again, ones are pointing at the upwards, another ones are pointing at downwards. We need to give it some time. That is what we need to see to get or to let the market decide, and then we jump on whatever wagon, right? Whatever the bullish or bearish wagon is going to be, then we take a position and off we go. All right, guys. So hey, Killefant, what's up? Welcome to the class. Please come on in, take your seat, and start making some noise. All right, guys. So this is for double tops and double bottoms. Let me explain a little bit more on double tops and bottoms, and then we're just going to be a top-down analysis of a couple of coins that we have in here, right? The difference, or what it depends on a double top and double bottom to be called a double top and double bottom, it is a uptrend for a double top, all right? A first bounce on, of course, a top, right? One bounce to define whatever, it may be a pendant, maybe a triangle. Remember, this is what we're looking for. And then we have a secondary bounce, and when we know it's a double top, it's not in here. It's when it has confirmed it's moved downwards. When can we confirm it's going downwards? Or when we already have a pivot and that pivot has crossed a third of that line. All right. Usually dividing your movement in three and losing that third, usually that's a good indication that we already have put in here a pivot, right? Which at the same overall position zone, that will make a double top. So there are 3 points of contact, 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Hey Harp, what's up, my buddy? Welcome. Harp in the chat. What's up, brother? Welcome. All right. So what happens there? Well then, how do we define a double top? When we lose the neckline. That is our double top. The next thing, what are we looking for? Usually breakout retest, right? I like to enter retest, but you can also enter on breakouts, all right? So just so you know where or how you can be trading that. All right. So what else we got in here? Let's take a look at. So the same thing goes for a double bottom, but of course in the inverted way. So if I just right click in here and I invert the scales, there we go. When we're coming down, all right, when we're coming down, and then we see that we have a pivot, right? Just like in here, look at that pivot right there, right? Then we go up into an area. Usually that area can be defined. Look at this with a little range. Guys, this is something important. This is why I also shifted. Remember that right now we're talking about advanced trading, all right? When we're talking about double tops and double bottoms, finding them is not it's not like easy or difficult, but could be tricky. Why? Because I mean, this is also looking like a bottom or top, right? And this is also looking, so what is this, a double top double bottom combo or what, right? So it's kind of like difficult to say, but what is easy to identify is these two peaks, right? Overall, the wave pattern, right, should be clear. Another thing that this looks like, and let's talk about morphology of the pattern, another thing that I always drill your brains with, what is it? Coming down, clear range, V-shaped recovery, high, not higher than the previous range. This gives us a Y. A what? A Wyckoff. Absolutely, look at that. So we got an accumulation scheme when we're looking at inverted, right? So what happens at this point? When we have that, we can take a look at a possible 70% chances of ranging. And are we ranging? Of course we're ranging, all right? So what could we maybe predict? Remember, our oscillator is not inverted, just so you know, all right? At this point, we are stalling, right? We're waiting for dynamic rate to come in strong in here. Hey, Donato Cabrera, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Hey, Army Piper, what's up, brother? Thank you so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it, my friend. And what happens here? Well, then we need to give it some time, right? To define its direction, right? At this point, if we're having Wyckoff, right? And this is not yet confirmed Wyckoff. Why? Because this is not yet a range. This is a double bottom so far. Remember, we inverted the scale, right? And guess what? It's basically the exact same thing, all right? So let's invert it one more time. And guys, this is something I want you guys to take advantage of, right? Inversion of scales. Why? My brain, for some reason, love to identify a Wyckoff like this, right? Love this pattern for some reason. So if it's for me better or faster to identify these kind of patterns, well then, when I see something similar, I'm gonna be inverting it, right? That way I can maybe having a easier time discovering what could happen here. So let's talk about, once again, pattern morphology. So far, we're still within this case a double bottom. What defines a double bottom? It is coming down from a low or a bearish downtrending here, right? We go into a pivot and then we define the first bounce. Usually this bouncing here is defined for a little bit of a hiccup before, like we had in here, which at the same time defines a possible Wyckoff scenario. All right, so as you can see, many things can be happening at the same time. The next thing that defines a double bottom is the next bounce at the same overall area, right, of support, like we have right here. All right, and then a breakthrough retest. Off we go. So basically, a double bottom is a crippled down accumulation scheme. Something that I want to show you guys, it is this little range or high volatility area right here that we're having at SUI right now, right? So most likely we're gonna be seeing another bounce. So brace yourself. I could be wrong on that, but we'll see what the destiny is awaiting to reveal for the trading. All right, guys, so that is it basically for double tops and double bottoms. A quick overview and recap. It is when you create your double tops, usually double tops are reversal signals, double bottoms are also reversal signals. A double top or a double bottom is only confirmed after we break the neckline. Remember that they are the start of a possible range, so a double top can easily become a triple top or a range, and a double bottom can easily become a triple bottom or a range, right? It is always important to look when you're having those double bottoms and double tops to look at your Wyckoff schematics. Why? Because if for some reason you fail or the price action fails to break out, you already know what's going to be the next upcoming movement. All right, so other than that, let's do a top analysis from a couple of oh my bad, let's just invert it once again. Perfect. from a couple of altcoins in here. Let's get started with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we're still making that. And let me just get rid of everything here now. Let me see. Do I have something important? We already have broken this. The only thing that I want you guys to notice, it is this same area. All right, let me extend it. Because if we go somewhere like in the 4 days, look at that, double top, double bottom, Wyckoff breakout retest. And if we go in, where is your retest, guys? Where is your retest? You see how Wyckoff can become double tops and double bottoms depending on the time frame you're looking at. If you want more information, go into a lower time frame, apply your Wyckoff, try to enter it early on those trades, right? That is a great, I think, friendly advice that I can give you. So what could we maybe doing in that? Let's go to 4 hours. Let's zoom in. And at this point, let me just clear most of it, if not everything. There we go. We're having something like a rising channel. All right, there we go. This is important. Well, now it looks more like a wedge, right? But usually at the top, this kind of wedges tend to break to the downside. All right, so what else? Well, we have the Wyckoff pattern here. This is the range, so we could be having a breakout retest, maybe as a fake out. We need to make another assessment here, and then off we go. So in a higher time frame, it's not about your breakout, guys. It's about your retest on dynamic reactor. Oh, come on. 12 hours. On dynamic reactor, let's change it slightly. Oh, there it is. So maybe higher. Right? And off we go. So guys, I think that wraps it up for today's double top and double bottom scenario. Tomorrow we're going to be looking at just practicing. We're going to be looking for, again, morphology, double tops, double bottom, wedges, ranges, all kind of patterns, so we can take on many difficulties that we might be seeing in the markets, right? I don't want you guys to start trading on the live markets, and not with real money at this point. Just maybe start practicing with paper trade, or set up a couple of fake entries as you go throughout your trading view. If you see something, start practicing it. Please share them on the alumni chat on Piper Academy, and tag me onto them, right? And also, if you have any questions, add me at OC Guy, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions based on the chapters. Remember to reference the chapters to your questions so I know what's going on, and I have a much cleaner perspective of what you're looking at. Guys, thank you so much for joining today. I have a blast, and as always, see you guys tomorrow for chapter 11.1, the practice.